All right. Whoa, that is a little too close. Feel like you can see right up my nostrils there. How's it going? I am Mark, and this is Asking the Right Questions with my new lead. How's the beard looking? It's looking pretty good. I think so, at least. Definitely took my time to kind of shaping it up a little bit. So, let me get rid of that music. There we go. All right. So, on the docket today, we are going to be talking about the credibility of the left and why we need to take better care of what we say, what we do, what we pass along, what we tell the world about us, what we tell and what we hang on to. Because what a lot of us have tended to do lately is we start to think that our credibility is something that we can just give out freely, that it's something that doesn't have any sort of tangible value to it, that we can give it out and automatically still have it. But what we don't realize is that our credibility is actually very fragile and is very limited, especially on the left. People as a whole only get so much credibility with the world. And when you're a part of a political movement, when you're a part of a political group, when you're trying to talk to people, when you're trying to push ideas that are beneficial for the people. You cannot be clinging to something that can actually be detrimental to such an idea. I mean, as soon as you open your mouth about something that, could easily ruin your credibility with someone, that's it. Your credibility is gone. There's a conversation that I had early on with Jimmy Reefer Cake. He invited me on his show, which got the wheels turning to start this thing a while ago. He asked me several times, and I tried to answer in a concise way, but the show was very kind of truncated, and when he's doing his shows, they're kind of stream of conscience. That's the best way I could put it. That's the nicest way I can put it, I'll say. It's kind of a mess. Not trying to be mean, Jimmy, but it is kind of a mess. Here, let me shrink this down a little bit because this is bothering me. I can't believe I had that big. Okay, there we go. All right. But it just constantly feels like, he's making it up as he goes, and that he can't stick to a topic, which is something that I hammer him on Twitter. And Twitter is where I get a lot of my ideas for doing these shows. It's a combination of, well, I'm on Twitter, I see these discussions going on, and I'm working at my job, which is very boring, and walking around a long, huge lot, moving cars and doing various things where my mind can tend to wander. It's something that happens constantly. So, this is something that has been bothering me for a while, though. And like I said, I tried to hammer it out with Jimmy, and it just didn't quite catch. I don't know if it was something that I wasn't saying at the time that was really resonating with him, or if maybe I didn't say it in a concise enough way, or if I didn't have the floor enough for him to listen to. So here, I have a floor. I have, as much floor as I want to give, so long as I'm not staying up all night babbling on and on and on and on about this, which I really don't want to do. I have to work tomorrow. I have a life. I do, unfortunately, a lot. So, But he kept asking me, specifically, it was around the time he was asking me about Seth Rich. What's the danger of talking about Seth Rich? Oh, come on, man. What's the danger of talking about Seth Rich, man? There's no danger there. There's no problem there. And I tried to tell him, your credibility goes when you talk about things like Seth Rich. And, he hung on to it. He's still hanging on to it. He made a bet. Not exactly something you're supposed to talk about, I guess. It was kind of a gentleman's bet. There wasn't really any personal stakes in all of it because, really, none of us are rich. None of us have really anything that we could benefit off each other from without, sending the other person into some spiral of further poverty. I don't know. I don't know if that's the best way to put it or not. But we don't really have anything that we can trade each other. I don't live close enough to him for him to give me weed. I don't live in Maine. I live in Michigan, where it's only legal if you had the medical card, which I can't get the medical card because I'm going to nursing school. So, it doesn't do me any good, does it? But the bet was on, and we're about to hit this, the end of this. He said 6 months from now, which I'm pretty sure has well and passed. 6 months from now, the biggest story that we're all going to be talking about, everyone's going to be talking about it, is Seth Rich. And here we are. And you know who's talking about it? Well, Tim Black brings it up sometimes. Jimmy Dore chewed it over and then chewed on it again, spit it out, picked it back up, chewed it on it again, spit it back out, keeps, okay, well, this is bad for me. Well, maybe it's good for me. Oh, it's bad for me. It's bad for me. But it looks so tempting. I mean, seriously, how many fucking times do you have to chew on it before you realize it's bad for you? And how long are we going to continue to elevate these people? I mean, seriously, Tim Black, the man thinks that Project Veritas is good because they use cameras. And you can't argue with that. You can't argue with cameras. You totally can't argue with edited footage. Can't argue with the fact that, douchebag James O'Keefe tried to accost a woman on a private boat when she was there to interview him. I mean, yeah, you can argue with that. This is not very difficult to argue against. It's the reality of the situation. You're giving away your credibility because maybe there's a couple things that you agree with that they do that you like, but it may not actually be reality. Here's a man who actually worked for Acorn, and he's talking about the guy who took Acorn down. I mean, for Christ's sake. What the hell are you doing, man? Like, it's upsetting. And they call themselves a part of the left. And that is a problem for those of us who are normal, just want to get by in life, want a better economy, want better benefits from this country, want an actual progressive agenda in this country to lead us to some sort of maybe prosperity, better than what we got. Hopefully, that's the plan. That's what we all tend to believe in, And it feels so wrong to have to attack these people, to have to continually denounce these people, to say, look, what are you doing? You're damaging our brand. And that's what it is. And that's why I talk about credibility. There is no point in talking about Seth Rich until we actually have something to talk about. His family doesn't seem to think that he was a leaker. His family wants us to stop talking about his death like it was some political death. You want to know why? Because they have a lot of riding on it to believe that it wasn't. They would know. Who would know better than them? The man got his dream job working for the Clinton campaign. Why would he harm it? Not to mention the fact that the RNC was also hacked. But the difference is, well, who did the hacking? And you're going, oh, but it was Seth Rich. So somehow, Seth Rich hacked the Hillary Clinton campaign while also hacking the DNC and the RNC, which he didn't work for. He only worked for the DNC. Do you see how stupid that is? And in talking about it, in having to talk about it, normal people are now looking at me and questioning my credibility. Is that good? Is that what we're aiming for? A constant revolving circle of questioning each other's credibility? See, the problem with these things is we don't look at A, where these stories come from. B, we don't look at, whether or not they actually have a point to them. Things can be floated as a theory to derail a discussion that's beneficial to a certain group, i.e., progressives. So, the next thing we're going to talk about, and it's all related, confirmation bias. This is a phrase that my brother floated past me a while ago, early on in the election. And I hadn't heard it before. I was a heavy Bernie supporter, and so was he. We both fought hard. We both voted for him. And hey, he won in Michigan. What do you know? And, you know, I had discussions with a lot of my friends. We were sharing stories and videos, and we weren't thinking about it. This was before anyone realized that fake news was a thing, that there was a possibility that there could be people working to spread stories that aren't true and serve only the purpose to muddy waters, which is exactly what it did. I mean, we ate that shit up. Good Lord. And I had to step back after he said this to me. And this is early in the primary. This is the primaries, okay? This is even before they came to my city. I'm only probably a mile and a half from where they had the debate. I actually worked at as a Uber driver. You know, I picked up a White House staffer for Obama. I picked up the lawyer heading the case of the Flint water crisis against the state of Michigan. You know, I got to witness some things. You know, it was cool. I got to get some slight inside baseball, very little, but something, and it counts. It matters. It's nice. But, excuse me, I'm fighting off a cold. But I forget even what the story was at this point, because there was a lot of stories around the time. There was just this deluge of stuff. And we were talking about, making the transition from if Bernie loses, which was, we all agreed was likely, to tell you where our head was at. Because we recognized the reality of the situation, of what was going on with Bernie. He was a long shot from the beginning. He started way too late, in the game. He didn't run to win. He didn't think he was going to win. He ran to change the party. And he, so far, has been proven to have done that. He has got people active. He's got, I heard today that we have more people running in Democratic primaries than ever. And I don't know how that's a problem. It's not. That's a good thing. Primaries are a very good thing for a party. And we were talking about this story, and I brought it up, and I thought, this is amazing, man. Can you believe this? And he looked at me and he goes, is it amazing because it's true, or is it amazing because it sounds like a good story? And I just stared at him. My oldest brother is really smart. I respect both my brothers. But, my oldest brother's super smart. He has a good way of turning these statements and having good conversations. And he said that, and I just stared at him. I was like, what? And he goes, is it confirming your bias? I was like, confirming my bias? Like, you mean, is it already suggesting that what I already believe, is true, it's true based on what I already believe? And he goes, yeah. Is it doing that? I go, well, I mean, I am voting against Clinton in the primary, and I'm starting to think that I might vote against her in the general election. And he's just like, whoa. I had that thought. I'm willing to admit I was stupid. But there are still people who believe that. And he told me, he said, the thing you have to realize about a lot of these stories is as they're coming out, you have to make sure that the story not just confirms what you already believe, but is actually true. Something can exist as a story and be true to the bias you already have, but also be against it. No story is going to 100% go to one side. That's not true. That's not how things work. Like, Can you seriously think of a time in your life when you were telling a story and it was 100% just, it went like this, like a movie script? There was no deviation. There was no change in anything. Life doesn't work like that. So when we talk about confirmation bias, when we talk about confirming a bias that you previously had with a story, we're talking about liking something and believing it's true because it fits your preconceived narrative. And that's not good. That's not good on the right. That's not good on the left. But the difference that we have on the left is we actually take credibility seriously. We take seriously things like confirmation bias. We take seriously getting it right. We take all of that seriously. Because we have to, and the right does not. The right does not check on their stories. They just spit them out. They find the piece of it, edit it down, squash it down to a little headline that they can post on there, that they can share to their friends, read the headline, and not read anything past it. I'm in one of those conversations right now with a right-winger who is trying to convince me that Christians are persecuted in this country because a Eastern Michigan student was expelled because of her Christian beliefs in 2009. What she refuses to tell me, when I have to dig through all the links and find the actual story from the Detroit Free Press, which would be the people who would actually report on this, because Eastern Michigan is close to Detroit, and they're right fucking there, I find out that, oh, she was a counseling major going for her master's, and she refused to counsel a person, work as a counselor, which is what she's supposed to be doing, because they were gay. And they expelled her because she vehemently refused to do so. And they said, you can't just discriminate against someone. You can't do that when you become an actual counselor. What are you going to do in the real world? You're going to piss people off. You're going to make people not want to use you. Or you're going to face several discrimination lawsuits. And you know what? The Eastern Michigan University got taken to court over it, and they won. It was, of course, because this is what we live in. In 2012, they ended up settling out of court because I'm forgetting the word for it, but the girl brought the case back up, appealed. She appealed the case, and Eastern Michigan was just like, I don't want to fucking deal with this. Here, take some money. Shut the fuck up and leave us alone. Here's your tuition money. Like, Jesus Christ. Go be a bigot on your own time. So, completely neglects to mention that. But it already fits their bias. It says it fits their bias that Christians, the majority religion in this country, are being persecuted. More so than, say, black people, gay people, or Muslims. Trying to remember the last time someone shot up a Christian church. Oh, wait, that was in... That was when that kid in North Carolina decided to shoot up a black church because it was a black church. That's the time it happened. But it didn't have to do with being Christian. No, it had to do... Because he was a Christian too. It had to do with the fact that they were black. They were in his neighborhood. And he belonged to the KKK. And he wanted them to die. He thought they were coming there to rape his family. So, like, you neglect to mention these things because you only concentrate on what fits your bias. And we can't do that on the left. They can get away with it on the right because that's the type of people they are. They believe in the authority. They are authoritarians. They buy into the nonsense that is given to them. We can't do that. We're supposed to be better than that. We're supposed to be more careful. We're supposed to be smarter. Otherwise... do we really want to follow the model of the right wing? What they do works with them. It wins them elections. It does not win us elections. Because we have people that actually believe in facts. We have people that actually believe in results. We have people that actually believe in policy. We know the difference between policy. We know the difference between what actually works to help people. So we can't do that. So then why the fuck are we elevating people like Jimmy Dore? Why the fuck are we elevating people like Tim Black? What the fuck? Does credibility matter anymore? I mean, shit, it's so easy to make fun of Louise Mensch because she's a part of, you know, the neoliberal side where she believes Russia did everything and there's big conspiracy theories about Russia. But meanwhile, H.A. Goodman has fucking credibility because what he says confirms our bias. Hillary Clinton is the ultimate evil. Hillary Clinton is going to lead to all the wars and kill a bunch of people. And we would be no better off under Hillary Clinton than under Donald Trump. Let's talk about Donald Trump then. I'm very curious at what point Hillary Clinton was going to start having literal internment camps for illegal immigrants, because we have that right now because our immigration courts are so filled up that they're basically just rounding people up, and we're talking about not criminals, we're talking about, you know, mothers, children's fathers, putting them in prison because they are in prison right now waiting their sentence, waiting their court date, which is so backed up. The immigration courts aren't built to deal with this amount of people. So, in essence, we have internment camps of Mexican people. And this isn't hyperbole. This isn't some made-up theory. This is happening now. It can be verified. Type it into the Google. Do what you gotta do. At the end of the day, I'm trying to figure out when Hillary Clinton was going to do that. Oh, she wanted war with Iran. Well, that's weird because she was very instrumental in the Iran nuclear deal. I mean, come the fuck on. Like, I get it. She was bad. I didn't like her either. But at the same time, making her the ultimate evil, more evil than a man who is likely going to get unseated for money laundering with the Russians, you know, with Russian oligarchs. Like, to put her in the same sentence as a guy who wants to ban all incoming Muslims to this country unless it's people that give him money or fillet him in some way. Like, the guy this week just said that the Democrats were possibly treasonous because they refused to clap for him during his State of the Union address. And you think Hillary Clinton would be just as bad? How? I'm going to ask you again slower. I can't keep doing that. I'm sorry. That shit that only works in jump cuts, and I ain't fucking editing this shit. That's why I do it live. Do I think Hillary Clinton would have been our savior? No, I do not. Nope. Yes, you can have the laptop. I'm sorry. I'm being invaded.
Hi, peoples. Keep going.
What are you going to use the laptop for?
Networking.
Oh, be careful, careful, careful. I don't want you to unplug everything. I don't think anyone's watching anyways, but at least this will be saved. Hi, puppy. My
Tell
dog's
the
in
people
here. That's a good little break. So I need to reset because I'm sitting too much on Hillary Clinton. You know, unlike Bill. Oh, sorry. That was wrong. I recused myself.
Would it be wrong to self-promote and be like, follow me on Twitter?
Yes, it would be.
I'm just gonna go make a really big sign and put it in front of the camera.
Okay. Please don't. All right. So getting back on track. See, at the end of the day, this is what started the whole thing. I believe it was Thames Darwin on Twitter was replying to, again, Jimmy Rivercake. Sup, buddy? Let's talk. About his views on Hillary Clinton. Here's the thing. I came up with this a while ago, and I came up with that on Twitter, and I tried to get the ball rolling on this idea. But as far as I'm concerned, I have an analogy for what it means to be still beating up on Hillary Clinton. Like, yes, we get it. She ran a shit campaign. And, you know, no one who's serious about this shit is actually going to argue against that. She did run a terrible campaign. I mean, how the fuck do you not go back to Wisconsin? How the fuck do you ignore Michigan? Hi. How's it going? Hillary Clinton, you remember us? We look like this. We have a bunch of lakes around us. Oh, a city got fucking poisoned? Thanks. Thanks for remembering us during the general. But, you know, you were all up in us during the primary, weren't you? And you still lost. Were you just mad? So, clearly, I'm not a fan of Clinton in any way. I don't even think an actual Clinton fan exists. You know, there's a bunch of people who are willing to just kind of deal with her shortcomings and say, you know, yeah, I mean, yeah, and like even her most ardent supporters are like people who she has been friends with or they've worked for her. So at the end of the day, I mean, continuing to talk about Clinton, we've settled it. We know, we fucking know, she sucked as a candidate. We knew that in the primary. We knew that in the general. But we were going to vote for her anyways because the option is where we are now. Is anybody happy right now with what's going on? Like, seriously, how many more nuclear scares do we need? How many more times do we need to hear about, you know, how we're going to go to war with, you know, how many countries is it now? Who haven't we pissed off in the world? I mean, at this point, we've also pissed off Russia because they aren't getting the entirety of the deal because they forgot that, you know, they bet on a guy who's a fucking moron. I don't see it. So that's why, again, I'm going to bring it back up since we're back talking about how bad Hillary Clinton is. And we have to say things like, look, I get it. She was bad, but, you know, you got to vote for her. And people are like, no, you got to vote for Jill Stein. Why? Talking about Hillary Clinton is punching at farts. I mean, let's think about that for an instance. We're still beating up on Hillary Clinton, right? But she can't do anything to us. She exists as a stink in the air to remind us of what we ate for dinner last night. And we may regret what we ate for dinner last night. Or we may regret how we feel right now. And we're letting out that fart. But if we keep punching at that fart, we think it's going to go away. We think it's not going to spread it around. We think that it's going to actually do something rather than just, you know, letting it dissipate or I don't know, going into another room and being like, look, I farted. It stinks in there. Let's move on. I mean, seriously. So talking about Clinton is seriously punching at a fart. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't exist in any meaningful way. It's a remnant of something you previously had. You know? And there's equal parts good and bad of that. Like, oh yeah, I actually enjoyed that meal, but my stomach hurts. And I just farted and it smells really bad now. So, what's the point in doing that? What's the point in talking about Clinton anymore? She's in the woods right now. She's not going to run again. She's done. And we're done with her. Hell, Uncle Joe isn't even running at this point. I forget if they've settled that or not. I think they have. I mean, shit, what the shit he just said. I mean, like, how the hell are you going to call millennials lazy? Dude. Bad move. Dims your voters. So, let's leave Clinton alone. She's done. Let her be off in the woods somewhere. Let her go retire with Bill. Let Chelsea do whatever the fuck she's going to do on that news network. You know? She's doing her thing. We can go ahead and let the political dynasties die. I'm okay with that. Can we move on? So let's move on back to Seth Rich. She did not have him killed. He is not the leaker. I don't care how many H.A. Goodman articles you link me to. You think he's a champion of the left. He has literally admitted that he is right-wing. So, why are you still buying into this idea that he's somehow this champion of the left? He doesn't care about us. He just cares about getting us to click on his articles and give him money. It's not good. It's not good for the left. It's not good for anyone but H.A. Goodman. And that's all he cares about doing. Luis Mensch is the same way. I saw somebody ask on Twitter the other day if there is a Alex Jones of the left. Yes. H.A. Goodman is one. We actually have several Alex Jones. I mean, if we want to be technical, H.A. Goodman is more akin to the, well, no, he's the Alex Jones of the left, but I kind of feel like, Jimmy Dore is like the, Paul Joseph Watson of the left. Buys into the nonsense and is a true believer, but doesn't really understand how to rub the two thoughts together, and is not as good in broadcast as you know, anyone else is. Although H.A. Goodman doesn't really do broadcast, but he does his stories, and they're so inflammatory. You know, the left reads more, so there's that. Maybe that's what it is he writes better articles, more entertaining articles, you know. And we can just imagine him being like Alex Jones, just snarling, just, Hillary Clinton, Satan, she killed Seth Rich. So we can go ahead and imagine him as that. Just, you know, it's on paper. And because it's the left, it's going to be kind of boring. It's just going to be more sensationalized. It's going to have a big headline that we're actually going to read all this stuff through, and we're never going to check the actual sources. We're just going to buy into it and be like, oh, well, here it is. It's on the article. Oh. H.A. Goodman. This H.A. Goodman guy. He might be onto something. That's us on the left. So, you know, there you go. That's my impression of the left. So, you know, but the thing is, they you know, H.A. Goodman and Luis Mensch are the same thing to us. I mean, whether it's the neoliberal side, who still think that Clinton would have been the best president ever if only us Bernie supporters would have stopped being racist and misogynistic and somehow whatever. You know, and she has all her Russia conspiracy theories. The newest one, which I fucking love, and I really wish that Sam Cedar would talk about. I keep reminding him in the comments, but I think he keeps skipping over because he's like, God damn it, it passed. Luis Mensch actually went after Dinesh D'Souza, claiming that he had a sexual relationship with a naval officer man while he was married in God, I think it said something like 2010 or something like that before he was arrested. But he was very much married to a woman. And as much as it confirms my bias, I don't believe it's happened. I don't believe it's real. See how easy that is? It's a very fucking interesting story, isn't it? It's fucking fantastic. No one likes Dinesh D'Souza. Dinesh D'Souza doesn't even like Dinesh D'Souza. Fuck that guy. But when I see that story, I want to believe it. But I don't believe it. You want to know why? I consider the source. I consider the facts on the ground. And I consider how that could possibly have been confirmed. Is there a way that Luis Mensch could confirm that without getting the written statement from the actual person? No. Do I believe that she has that? She hasn't said she has that. But at the same time, Dinesh D'Souza also hasn't denied it. But the thing is, when it comes to these shit peddlers, and Luis Mensch very much is, Dinesh D'Souza also is, H.A. Goodman also is, we have to look at specifically where it's coming from. And I know I am a firm believer in a broken clock can be right twice a day, but there are some broken clocks that just keep spinning and are just going to stay off and you can't do jack shit about. So, no, I don't believe that happened. As much as I want to, as much as it fills me with, so much joy in hearing about this bigoted, anti-gay, anti-Muslim moron of the right possibly having sex with not just a man, but a naval officer, you know. Support our troops, am I right? I don't believe it because I recognize that it's Luis Mensch. And that's where that story should end. So the next time you're sitting around and you see an H.A. Goodman article, just keep scrolling. Or you got your phone, just keep scrolling. Just keep scrolling. Just keep going. Go. Whatever, H.A. Goodman. Whatever. You fucking dipshit. I think I'm blocked by him, by the way, on Twitter. I told him that I have no reason at all to believe him on Seth Rich, and that if even his family isn't getting behind this and, you know, don't think that this has anything to do with why he was killed, you know, he shouldn't. And him and his acolytes started tweeting at me all this stuff about, you know, well, if you look at the way the information was attained, it only could have been attained from inside of the DNC. And I go, okay, well, what about the RNC? And they just go, what about it? It was hacked. And according to our intelligence services, which, by the way, I don't 100% trust, but let's face it, they have more credibility. I tied it back in. Then, you know, H.A. Goodman. They have, you know, way more credibility. You know, they said it was hacked around the same time. likely by the same people. And plus, you know, for all of this you're throwing at me about what we don't know and what they won't show us. Well, they haven't showed us definitive information that has proven that it was actually hacked in this way. And go, well, okay. But we also haven't seen all of the information because it's an ongoing investigation. So then what? They're not going to fucking release all this detrimental information that they have in the middle of an investigation of a U.S. president and his administration and his transition team and his campaign and his business dealings, you know, just to appease H.A. Goodman, to shut him up about a DNC staffer who was likely robbed in a robbery gone wrong, or likely killed in a robbery gone wrong. Oh, but he didn't take his wallet. Okay. Do you think that robbers like that plan to kill people? They don't. I live in a city full of crime and bullshit. I lived through the 90s and the early 2000s when this city was an even bigger shithole than it is now. So believe it or not. We're more poor now. We have worse water. But believe it or not, our crime is actually down. I lived through that. I got to witness all that bullshit. And you know what? Sometimes people get killed accidentally and they forget to rob them because they're like, oh shit. I didn't want to kill the guy. I just wanted his money. So who cares that he didn't take his fucking wallet? Who gives a shit? That's not proof of anything. That's just a thing that exists. The thing that should make you go, But it's not something that makes you go, aha. And that's what you're doing. So, I don't care. I don't care, H.A. Goodman. You can give me all this information you want. You know, it doesn't add up to anything. In fact, how the fuck do you know that it could have only been done in-house? Are you a technology expert? No. You're a journalist. Supposedly. So then what are we even talking about here? What are we even doing by suggesting such things? This is why we don't talk about Seth Rich. This is why we don't talk about any of these conspiracy theories on the left. This is why it's wrong for even the neoliberals to buy into this idea that the Russians hacked all our voting rolls and caused us to, cause the election to, go to Trump and, we didn't actually vote him in. It's not true. At best, they were just sharing out videos and convincing people who were already going to vote for Trump to go out and vote for Trump. And it convinced those of us on the left to stay home. Because we believed her to be the ultimate evil. Because we go in. The video it tells us a thing. This guy with Love America 666767420 8899 with an egg profile picture sent me this video. And it's gotta be true because it confirms what I already thought about her. I'm not gonna vote for her. I'm gonna stay home. Oh, who? Oh, Jill Stein? Oh, okay. I guess I vote for her. Green New Deal. Green New Deal. By the way, where the fuck is Jill Stein, man? She disappeared. It's what she always does. So, what ended up happening, I kind of didn't finish the story about what got me on this tangent and brought it all back up, is I think it's Reefer Cake's wife got into the conversation and started saying things like, oh, Hillary would have been so much worse. How dare you get mad at us? All we did was make a choice and you're voting. And I likened it to saying, well, I could either buy this poison or I could buy food. But instead I'm going to kill myself because it's a choice that I make. And you can't be mad at me for making this choice because I did it as a message and you can't blame me for any of the consequences. Which is a whole big ball of dumb fuckery that, trying to unravel that, good Lord. I invited her to come watch the stream. I don't think she has. I'm pretty sure that we're still barren out there. But hopefully she, yeah, there's no one watching. That's a bummer. Whatever. We'll get there. But, you know, I invited her to come watch because I wanted to hash this out in a reasonable way. And I apologize for my language, but it's very maddening. It's very maddening, especially to be in the position that I'm in and to recognize how good a position I could have had it under Clinton, you know, versus where the fuck we are now. You know, so it gets a little upsetting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But at the same time, what you have to realize is you are responsible for your actions. You cannot... voting is not political expression and political... it's not like protest. People say, oh, you do a protest vote. No, that's not what it is. Voting is political action. It is a action. It does end thing, and end result exists. Case in point, where we are now. So, you have to stop looking at it like that. So you voted for Jill Stein. You don't regret it. All right then. Well then you voted to send a message to the Democratic Party. And you also were okay with Trump ending up in office. Just own it. Don't try to pussyfoot around and say, you know, oh, well, you know, I half my vote technically went to Trump, but, you know, I didn't vote for Trump, so whatever. I voted for Jill Stein. Such a useless vote. I mean, like, Jill Stein is never intended to be your savior. She doesn't even believe she's your savior either. You know? And the biggest problem with her was that she didn't tell her voters, look, if you're in a swing state, vote for Hillary Clinton because, good Lord, have you seen what's on the fucking other side? Because at the end of the day, what we all need to realize, and this is where, again, our credibility goes to shit on the left. What we need to realize is that the metric for which we measure how bad Clinton was not Bernie Sanders. It was not Jill Stein, because neither of those people had the possibility to win as president. The metric we use for measuring how bad or how good Hillary Clinton was Donald Trump. Is Hillary Clinton worse than Donald Trump? Is no change worse than a lot of change in the worst possible way? Which is where we are. You know, these are all questions that all of us needed to ask ourselves before the election. And I told people, you know, if you believe in Jill Stein, ask yourself, where does she go after she runs for president? She pops up in election year, and then she's gone. I mean, I'm trying to think of an analogy like that. You know, if you watch hockey, it's like Don Cherry and you know, the NHL playoffs. You see him and you go, oh, there's Don Cherry. Where the fuck's he been? And then the season, you know, it goes to the finals, and it's no longer on no longer simulcast CBC, and he's gone. All his interesting dresses and his love for the Red Wings and everything is gone. That's Jill Stein. She was not intended to be your savior. She has done so much more harm to the Green Party than any other candidate. But you guys believed in her because you wanted to. I mean, hell, if you want to talk about the state of the Green Party now, since she has been their candidate twice now, let's go back to Ralph Nader. Ralph Nader was actually making some headway. And, you know, he actually has said that, I believe he said that he regretted running in 2000 as a spoiler candidate, or he wished he would have advised his voters to vote for Al Gore in the general, if you know, in swing states again. But you know, at the end of the day, the Green Party had its most votes in 2000, and then less in 2004. Less in 2008, less in 2012, less in 2016. Now, Jill Stein ran in 2012 and 2016 and set it back so far. Do you know who ran before her? Roseanne Barr. And if you want any sort of broad critique of where the Green Party is now, you can look at that. Jill Stein helped tank the Green Party even more. Roseanne Barr ran on the Green Party ticket and is now an ardent Donald Trump supporter. That tells me everything I need to know about the Green Party. And I'm sorry to my friends who like the Green Party, but that's the truth. You don't like it, I'm sorry. Life sucks. But the Green Party is not here to save you. It exists to continue existing. It doesn't exist to make any headway or to actually do anything. I mean, has the Green Party even proposed anything? When they have green, you know, I've pointed this out on Twitter before and on Facebook and otherwise that, you know, they only run a presidential candidate, and they point out that yes, you know, no, that's not true. There's Green Party candidates all around the country running for smaller offices. And you go, okay, is the Green Party actually promoting them? Well, no. Who are they promoting? Jill Stein. So then they're not exactly running with the Green Party. The Green Party isn't really running them. They might list them on some obscure website, but again, it's just like Hillary Clinton's policies. You know, getting back to a critique of her campaign strategy. You know, some people might have found out what her policies were if she actually talked about them in debates or otherwise, but instead she just talked about Donald Trump. But if you actually wanted to find out what her policies were, which they were actually, you know, what she was running on was fairly progressive and pretty decent and wasn't quite Bernie Sanders, but it was Bernie Sanders-esque, is Bernie Sanders light, which I would totally take over what we have now. You know, you would have gone to her website and you would have saw her policies. And that is a critique of her, and that is a legitimate critique. Why didn't she run on her policies? Why didn't she tell people, you know, Donald Trump wants to give a giant tax cut to millionaires and billionaires. Here's what I'm going to do for these tax cuts. You know, this is what I'm going to allocate money to. This is what I'm going to create. This is what infrastructure I'm going to create. This is what I'm going to spend on infrastructure. This is what I'm going to do for you. Instead, she ran on, this guy is just going to do bad shit. And that's it. Leave the story at that. Just one last critique. You know, just to punch at that fart a little bit more. Why not? But, you know, the Green Party exists as an apparatus to run candidates for president. They're not out there even, petitioning for things that would actually help the party. Like, say, I don't know, ranked choice voting. Where the hell are they on ranked choice voting? Oh, they support it? Okay. What are they doing for it? Oh, well, they're very limited in their funding because they didn't earn enough in the last election. Well, there you go. They haven't attained a thing. They aren't doing anything. It doesn't take much to talk to people. Hell, people are doing it on Twitter. And people don't realize, Antifa groups and Black Lives Matter, there's no funding mechanisms for those. So then what the fuck is the Green Party's excuse? Oh, we don't have money? You don't have a way to send out an email to people and say, hey, do the thing. Do the thing. Talk to people. Call people. That takes money to do? That takes money to mass send out an email to people that support you? I know bands that run mailing lists for free. And you want to tell me that the Green Party can't fucking do that? Give me a goddamn break. That is exactly what the Green Party is. They're ineffectual. They're not intended to be effectual. They're intended to take your vote away. They dupe rubes into voting for them. And it makes me sad, man. I love my left-wing brethren. I know we're all fighting for the same thing, but we're all doing it the wrong way. We're doing it in ways that don't work. The Democratic Party is doing it in a way that isn't working. Probably the best strategy that I've heard is what Cenk Uygur was doing with the Justice Democrats. And oh my God, that whole thing, man. I don't agree with that at all. I think, different things. I think it was sort of the gonzo journalism is still the same thing as what, the whole nonsense with Matt Taibbi. I think it's the same exact thing. And both have done enough to, counteract those old things which were just things said, not things acted on, not even things said, things written down. So I thought this thing, and later on people are like, oh, he thought this thing, and he's like, yeah, I regret that. And people are like, well, you're still held accountable because you had a thought, you wrote it down. It makes you just as bad. Ugh. That's a story for a whole nother time. I actually have a stream planned on that. Talking about. I shouldn't give too much away. I need a better title. But I'm gonna talk about the Me Too movement and some of the things that I'm not too happy about and would like to see redirected. It's a touchy subject. I'm going to involve my wife in it to help me out. We'll get there. So, yeah. But getting back on the topic, all the things that I have talked about in this stream has not cost me my credibility. In the grand scheme of things, everything that I've talked about is true. Hillary Clinton may not have written the Iran deal, but she was instrumental in negotiating the Iran deal. So therefore, the idea that we were going to instantly go to war with Iran if she had won is a joke. It's not true. It's something that is spread around to fearmonger and get you to vote against her, which had happened. Or stay at home. Whatever, man. Seth Rich was not killed by the Clinton campaign. He was likely killed in a robbery gone wrong. It sucks. Believe me. I have, A friend of mine's brother was killed while delivering pizza in a robbery gone wrong too. And, you know, they're still trying the case, and it's been 5 years now. It sucks. It's awful. There's no need to politicize such a thing. And this shit does happen. And the person who killed him should be rotting in a jail cell. And they should be finding him. And I know they're working on it. It needs to happen. But he was not killed by the DNC or Hillary Clinton. And, you know, neither was, what's his name that was, you know, the drag the body through the park guy. You know, he wasn't killed by them either. They're not fucking supervillains. People aren't fucking supervillains. We're not written up stories. These people that we talk about are people that even the people that suck. Even Donald Trump, they don't believe that what they're doing is evil. They just believe they're doing something for themselves. Or maybe, you know, they have some deluded belief that they're doing something for the good of some bigger picture. But evil people don't believe they're doing evil things. And to discuss it in this way, that it exists as this idea of this giant ball of evil plans and petting a cat in a swivel chair. Hello, Mr. Bond. It's not reality. That's in movies. And movies are designed to entertain. They're designed to have these simple messages. They're designed to where, you know, if it's a simple, like a comic book story, you know who the bad guy is. You can look at it and you can say, well, it's Willem Dafoe. He always plays a bad guy. I mean, it's Willem Dafoe. And I'm gonna I'm gonna enjoy it too. I'm gonna watch him while out and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" That's as good a Willem Dafoe impression I can do. I can only do him as the Green Goblin. So, you know, we're not built that way. So then why do we give our credibility to such things that want us to believe that life is like the movies? Because movies are simpler. It's easier to believe in these things. It's easier to buy into all of this mess. It's so much easier. But it's not right. It's not correct, I should say. The word is correct. As in, it cannot be proven. It cannot be factually identified as existing as a thing. So, what's the right question to ask about our credibility? You know, why don't we talk about Seth Rich? Because we don't have time to talk about bullshit. We've got too much going on, man. You know, and I've seen some comments lately criticizing the Democratic Party, and there's plenty to criticize the Democratic Party on, and I would agree with most of it, but I saw one that was complete and utter bullshit. And I was basically saying, why isn't the Democratic Party pushing for universal pre-K or I think it was tuition free college. You know, the best that they're working on right now is they're trying to they've actually had pushes within the party to extend and expand Obamacare to be Medicare for all. There have been people that have been doing that. Cough, Bernie. Oh, wait. Shit. That was too late. But, you know, there's been those pushes. But, you know, the criticism was, why aren't they pushing also for tuition-free college? Why aren't they pushing for fire hydrants that shoot out Slurpees? Because they're busy, man. We're all busy. We're all fighting on tons of different fronts. This is what the Trump presidency is. It's just a giant mess. It is a mess. He throws tons of things at the wall, and it all sticks. So I'm sorry that they're too busy trying to fight off the president from trying to nuke North Korea, while also trying to give half the country to Russian oligarchs, while also trying to make it so that we can drill into every single person's home for oil and reopen coal mines that have been barren or have been automated for decades already, or that has giant internment camps for illegal immigrants because they're brown, but has no problem with Canadian immigrants. Oh, the good immigrants, you know, from not shithole countries, whatever. Fuck you. You know, I'm sorry. And there's 20,000 other things that people are dealing with right now with this guy. I'm sorry that they don't have the time to deal with that. I'm sorry. From me, on behalf of the Democratic Party, as someone who isn't even registered as a Democrat, who, you know, mostly, votes for Democrats because I'm a left-wing guy, and as I said, I'm not going to fucking vote for the Green Party. I'm sorry. They're busy. They only have so many resources and people. They do bad things. They do suck. But I'm sorry, they're not guilty in this instance. They're doing all they can right now. So give me a goddamn break. You're asking them to do every fucking thing as a minority party that's trying to run to hopefully take back at least the House. And you're criticizing them for not doing more with less. Fuck you. So let's get to the question about our credibility. On the left, what is it that we need to ask ourselves? Because we can't ask each other. We need to do this inward. We're capable of that. The right wing is not capable of self-awareness. We are capable, we are smart, we are careful, we care beyond what we see out our window, beyond what we see around us. We know that other people exist. We know that all of this is a part of a grander thing, and we can do better. We care about getting it right the first goddamn time, and so that we don't have to deliberate it later. We care about that. So our credibility matters. So we need to ask ourselves, what is it that we can do? I think that's the question. What is the right thing for us to do? I mean, at the end of the day, we can continue to harp at each other. We can continue to be mad at each other. We can continue to argue on Twitter. We can continue all of this. But that doesn't do anything. What is it we can actually do to attain the goals that we set out for? We need to recognize what's valuable. We need to recognize where we are. We need to recognize that if it's a whole lot easier to argue with somebody, let's say this is the spectrum, this is the center, it's a whole lot easier to argue with someone who's over here, if you're over here, to bring them over here than it is to argue with someone who's all the fuck all over here. I hit the wall. I'm sitting very close to my wall right now. That's as far right as I can go. But believe me, I should be going much further. Because we aren't moving that guy. And we haven't. We've moved the senators. We've moved some congressmen to retire. And that's it. So we need to concentrate on what we can do. What can we do? We can talk to each other and we can actually listen. Listening is key. How I started this and how I get on these rants is based off of something very specific. I hear people. I take into account what they say. I actually listen. I listen to the right-wingers. I hear them. I take it in. I absorb it. And I see if it makes sense. And I remember it. Because it's important. Because they are human beings. We all are. We all want good things. We just don't understand how to get there. So what I mean by what can we do, and by asking ourselves that, is saying, well, what can we do? And then looking at the person next to you, looking at the person that overall agrees with you, and ask them, what do you think we should do? What makes sense? What do we do now? Otherwise, I got news for you. We're going to lose again. We're going to lose again. And then we're going to lose again. If there's any of us even left. We're literally sitting here watching our country fade. He hasn't become as bad as Bush yet. But he has the possibility of being so much worse that arguing amongst each other about Hillary Clinton or Jill Stein, Seth Rich, H.A. Goodman, you know, she was going to attack Iran. No, she wasn't. Arguing amongst each other about all this nonsense doesn't do any good. Because we're doing the same thing that the right does to us. We're not listening to each other. So what can I do for you? What can I do to help you? You at home who probably is already either tuned out and wrote some angry comment to me. I'm going to type in the comment to you. If you're a left-winger, you like Jimmy Dore, and you think that I'm full of shit, and that, you know, Seth Rich is something that we actually need to continue to chew over. What can I do for you? Because we all want the same things. We know we're the majority of the country. We know, Reefer Cake, that we can get legalized weed. We know that would be a plus. That'd be a good thing. No one would argue with you on that. We know we can get universal health care. I have a ton of health problems. My wife has a ton of health problems. We're always sick. It sucks. And it's held us back. Hell, I used to work as a CNA. I can't do that anymore because I had knee surgery and my knee is all sorts of fucked up and I can't do it anymore. You know? We all want the same things. We all just want a better country. We want an actual social state to exist in this country. We want democratic socialism. We want these public works programs. We want economic freedom as intended for what it means. That we have the freedom to actually choose what our money goes to, rather than choosing between starving and dying and not. Because that's coercion. Hey, libertarians, I got your word in there. How about that? So, what can I do for you to get you to see that I'm not your enemy? That Sam Cedar is not your enemy. That Cenk Uygur saying you need to vote for Hillary Clinton was not your enemy. We weren't trying to bash you down. We all wanted Bernie Sanders to win, but he didn't even think he could win. So, go figure. And what about Bernie Sanders? He wanted you to vote for Hillary Clinton. And for good goddamn reason. What can I do for you to say in 2018, look, I recognize that not all the progressives are going to win their primaries, and I'm going to have to hold my nose and vote for probably a right-of-center neoliberal Democrat. That's going to suck. And he might try and work with Trump, but he's still going to try and do a little bit for me. That's better. Again, spectrum. This guy's here. You're negotiating here. You can get him over here. You can bring him over. You can't bring this guy over. What can I do for you to make you hold your nose and say, you know what? We're better off. It's a legit decision that I can make that can actually make us better than what we were. Because I would love to do that. I'd love for us on the left to be back together, not arguing amongst each other about mysterious murders and bullshit and buying into right-wing conspiracies that started on the right and we adopted because they confirmed our bias about someone who we should have voted for anyways, who wasn't as evil as we all want to make her out to be. I mean, Trump's fucking horrible. Clinton was just more of the same, and I would have taken that any day. So, that's the question. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope I didn't derail too much. We're at about an hour and a half in. To the people who might have scoped this out of curiosity, and to the people who check this out in the future, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful night. And I look forward to seeing you on Twitter. I look forward to seeing you in the comment section. And I look forward to hopefully getting enough of you to subscribe to me to counteract the influx of white supremacist people who believe in white genocide arguing on my other video. Yeah, that's happening. So, we'll see you next week. I'll announce it on Twitter when I'm doing it. It seems like Tuesday at 8 o'clock is a good time because it's right after Michael's show gets done. It's, Michael Brooks' show gets done. Well, at least, unless you're a member. And, yeah. Wonderful night, and stay safe, people. Let's hope the nuclear football guy is, carefully hidden.